Commander Virex stood on the bridge of the Eclipser, the Thalzar Dominion's flagship, as it slipped silently into Earth's solar system. The stars beyond the viewport sparkled cold and distant, but inside the command deck, a warmth of arrogant certainty filled the air. Virex's pale eyes scanned the holographic displays. Humanity, the newcomers, were a minor blip on the Dominion's vast conquest map, a primitive species that should fall without resistance. "This will be easy," Virex told his officers, his voice calm but edged with impatience. "Their technology is rudimentary, their planet barely capable of interplanetary travel. We will occupy Earth in less than a day." The officers nodded, their faces impassive but eager. The Dominion was accustomed to swift victories, civilizations crushed before they could even organize resistance. But the Eclipser's sensors were already detecting strange anomalies near Earth's orbit, small, fast-moving objects that flickered out of sensor range with baffling speed. "Commander," reported Lieutenant Hatar, "our flagship's power output is fluctuating. The secondary reactors are unstable." Virex frowned. "Explain." "Unknown interference. Our energy fields are flickering. Could be deliberate, perhaps some form of electronic warfare." He clenched his jaw. Electronic warfare? Against them, humans were barely capable of keeping a stable grid on their own planet, let alone wielding advanced jamming technology in space. "Scan for the source," Virex ordered sharply. The bridge filled with static and electronic crackle as sensors strained to find the origin. Then a new blip appeared, dozens of small unmanned ships weaving in and out of detection. "Humans. Scout drones," Hatar said, astonished. "Unmanned fighters? They're swarming us?" Virex narrowed his eyes. "So, the humans choose to fight. Let them." The Eclipser's weapon systems came online, plasma turrets swiveling toward the invisible attackers. The sudden bursts of light illuminated the darkness of space, but the drones darted with unpredictable agility, striking with small but precise kinetic blasts that shredded armor plating. The Dominion fleet was caught off guard. Communications lit up with frantic reports of damaged ships and faltering shields. "Unacceptable," Virex snapped. "Concentrate fire on the largest cluster. Annihilate their control vessels." But the humans fought with a desperation and cunning the Dominion had not anticipated. Their drones split into smaller groups, each leading Dominion ships into ambushes where Earth's orbital defense platforms unleashed barrages of railgun fire. The Eclipser shuddered as a direct hit tore through its porthole. "Damage report," Virex demanded. "Hull breach in Section 5. Shields at 20%. Reactor stabilizers fluctuating." Hatar replied grimly. Virex's hand trembled slightly as he gripped the command console. For a species that had never seen defeat, this was the first real sign that the humans might be more than just an annoyance. Across the solar system, on a hidden orbital station above Earth, a human officer watched the battle unfold through a bank of monitors. Captain Alara Chen's sharp eyes never left the displays. "They're here," she muttered, "and they think this will be easy." Behind her, the AI known as Cerberus hummed quietly. Its complex algorithms had anticipated the Dominion's every move, down to their likely boarding strategies and electronic attack patterns. "Alara," the AI's voice was calm but resolute. "The enemy's primary vulnerability is their arrogance. They underestimate human adaptability and willingness to sacrifice." Alara smiled grimly. "Good. Let them learn." Back on the Eclipser, Virex made a decision that would echo across the stars. "Prepare to deploy ground forces. We take Earth by force. No negotiations. No mercy." As his troops readied to descend on the blue-green planet, the humans were already preparing to fight a war they barely understood. One where every street, every ruined city, was a battlefield, where the odds were against them, but the spirit to resist burned fiercer than any plasma weapon. Virex looked out at the swirling clouds of Earth below. "Soon," he whispered, "this world will belong to the Dominion." But the stars had other plans. The silent, pale glow of Europa's icy surface was broken by a sudden, harsh beep from the mining station's sensors. Lieutenant Mara Voss, stationed on the remote outpost, squinted at the display. Something large, no, multiple objects, were entering the Jovian system. Fast. Too fast to be natural. "Commander, the Dominion fleet has jumped into the system," Mara reported, voice steady despite the cold grip tightening around her chest. "Sensors show heavy warships on an intercept course for Earth." The station's communication array crackled as orders streamed in from Earth's planetary defense headquarters. Mara's fingers flew over the controls. "Preparing to relay data to Earth. We have precious little time." Meanwhile, in Earth's orbit, the human defense network sprang into action. Satellites long relegated to surveillance had been retrofitted with offensive capabilities. Kinetic weapons, electromagnetic pulse emitters, and advanced sensor arrays designed to track and target ships far more sophisticated than their own. Pyongyang. Dominion fleet, confident and arrogantly slow in their approach, was in for a shock. From the shadows of Earth's lower orbit, human stealth satellites slipped between the Dominion vessels like ghosts. Their operators, young and fiercely determined, guided swarms of drones dubbed Phantoms on kamikaze runs that shredded Dominion armor plating. These drones were crude and disposable, but their sheer numbers overwhelmed enemy defenses. Commander Virex watched the chaos unfold through his flagship's tactical display, disbelief slowly turning to rage. "Focus fire," he ordered. "Destroy those infernal machines." The Eclipser's plasma cannons roared, tracing arcs of destructive energy through the blackness. But the humans' ghosts darted too quickly, slipping past firestorms to target weak points on the hulls. At the edge of the battle, Captain Ilara Chen stood at the helm of the Aegis, a repurposed cargo vessel retrofitted for combat. Her hands gripped the controls as she maneuvered through a hail of enemy fire, her squadron trailing behind. "Phantom Swarm, initiate attack pattern Delta," she commanded. The small drones exploded from launch tubes in rapid succession, weaving through Dominion gunfire like a swarm of angry wasps. Explosions erupted on Dominion ships as targeted strikes found critical systems. Engines faltered, shields dimmed, and communication arrays flickered. Ilara's voice was calm but fierce. "Keep the pressure, they expect fear. We give them fury." Below, on Earth, the planet was far from unified, but a fragile alliance of governments, rebels, and civilian militias had forged a single, desperate purpose: survival. In makeshift command centers carved out of old skyscraper basements, strategists pored over data from orbital sensors. "Enemy fleet is larger than anticipated," said General Omar Das, rubbing his beard in frustration. "But their formation is rigid. They expect a quick victory." His advisor, Lieutenant Kira Lin, shook her head. "They don't understand what they're up against. Humans fight dirty. They improvise. We've got supply lines rigged with explosives, cities turned into labyrinths of death traps. Dominion ground troops will find no easy conquest." Elsewhere, deep underground in a bunker beneath the ruins of New York City, a group of irregular fighters prepared for the inevitable invasion. Their leader, Marcus Hale, a scarred veteran of Earth's long-forgotten wars, checked weapons and gave orders. "Remember," Marcus said, voice low and steady, "the Dominion believes we're weak, disorganized, and afraid. We'll show them what it means to face a species that refuses to surrender." As the Dominion began their descent to Earth's surface, their ships releasing waves of heavily armed shock troops, the humans braced themselves. The battle was no longer in the stars, but in the shadows of crumbling cities. Commander Virex watched the reports with growing unease. His fleet was losing ships. His troops were facing unexpected resistance. Still, he believed his empire's might was unstoppable. But somewhere deep inside him, a seed of doubt took root. The humans weren't just ghosts in the machine. They were hunters in their own world, and the Dominion had just stepped into the lion's den. The Eclipser's massive plasma turrets roared to life, sending searing beams of energy toward the sprawling human orbital fortress above Earth. From the Dominion's vantage point, the fortress should have buckled in moments, a relic of Earth's early space efforts, hardly worthy of a second thought, but the fortress held. Commander Virex stared at the main tactical display, a storm of data streaming in. His eyes narrowed as the fortress's energy shields shimmered. absorbing blasts that should have torn through them like paper. "Shield stable at 95%, Lieutenant Hatar reported, incredulous. "Their defenses are more advanced than our intelligence indicated." Virex clenched his jaw. "Adjust targeting. Focus on the shield generators. Tear them down." Plasma beams seared the outer surface of the fortress, but in response, arcs of brilliant blue energy flared from the shield emitters. Suddenly, the Eclipser shuddered violently as a pulse of electromagnetic energy coursed through its systems. Warning alarms blared. "EM pulse detected," Hatar shouted. "Subsystems are failing." Virex gritted his teeth. "What is this? Sorcery?" "Magnetized railguns," came the cold voice of the Eclipser's chief engineer, Zartek. "They're firing electromagnetic pulses designed to disrupt our energy fields." The Dominion fleet faltered, its ship's energy shields flickering like dying stars. On the human side, Captain Alara Chen watched the battle with grim satisfaction. "Status report," she ordered. "Railgun batteries fully operational." Her engineering team worked feverishly, recalibrating the magnetized mass drivers hidden within the fortress walls. Each shot hurled a burst of electromagnetic energy at the Dominion fleet, exploiting a vulnerability in their shield technology that the humans had painstakingly uncovered through intercepted communications and relentless testing. "Targeting the Eclipser's forward shields again," Ilara said. "Brace for impact." The Dominion flagship rocked violently as the next pulse slammed into its hull. Systems flickered and failed, power surging erratically through the bridge. Consoles. Virex slammed his fist on the armrest. "Prepare countermeasures," he barked. "Bring down that fortress by any means necessary." But the humans were relentless. More railgun shots followed, each pulse timed perfectly to exploit
gaps in the Dominion shields.
Smaller human fighters, nimble and audacious, darted through the chaos, strafing weakened sections of the fleet with kinetic cannons. In the background, orbital defense platforms launched swarms of stealth drones, phantoms, each carrying explosive charges that detonated on impact with Dominion hulls. The Eclipser's armored plating buckled under the relentless barrage, hull integrity critical at port side. Hatar warned, "We're taking heavy losses." On the ground, Earth's defenders cheered quietly as each Dominion ship was forced to retreat or succumb to fire. But the battle was far from over. Virex clenched his teeth and made a choice that shocked even his most loyal officers. "Deploy the shockwave," he ordered, referring to a classified experimental weapon rarely used except in the most desperate situations. The Eclipser's bow opened to reveal a massive accelerator cannon, a relic from a forgotten war, capable of firing a devastating particle beam. Its blast radius could obliterate the fortress but also risked catastrophic fallout to Earth itself. "We risk planetary damage?" Zartek asked, aghast. "We risk defeat otherwise," Virex replied coldly. "Fire!" The particle beam surged forth, ripping through the fortress's shields and striking its core. The fortress shuddered, alarm screaming, but in the moments before destruction, Cerberus, the AI controlling Earth's defenses, activated the fortress's final gambit. The railgun arrays shifted power to the core, redirecting the particle beam's energy into an intense electromagnetic counterblast. The Eclipser screamed as its own weapon turned against it, sending a cascade of surging power through the ship's hull. Systems failed, lights dimmed, and the Eclipser lurched into an uncontrolled spin. Alarms blared and the bridge filled with smoke. Virex gritted his teeth, fury and disbelief burning in his eyes. This was no simple primitive world. This was a fortress of chaos, a weapon of human ingenuity and desperation. "We will adapt," he vowed, voice low but fierce. "We will break their defenses, and Earth will fall." But deep in his gut, the first real doubt stirred. The Dominion was facing an enemy unlike any before, one that fought with fire, cunning, and a refusal to surrender. The Dominion's landing pods pierced Earth's atmosphere, burning bright against the swirling clouds. Below, the ruins of once great cities stretched like scars across the landscape. Broken highways tangled in debris, shattered skyscrapers, jutting like jagged teeth into the gray sky. Commander Virex stood in the lead pod, eyes fixed on the sprawling cityscape below. His genetically enhanced soldiers readied their weapons, sleek plasma rifles, energy blades humming faintly. They expected little resistance, a shattered species cowering beneath the might of the Dominion. But as the pods touched down with bone-jarring force, the soldiers felt an eerie silence. No welcoming parties, no surrender signals, only shadows. Deploy, in formation, Virex commanded. Sweep and secure. Expect minor skirmishes. The soldiers spilled from the pods, boots crunching over broken glass and twisted metal. Their energy shields flared on instinct, ready to absorb small arms fire. But the streets were empty. Commander, reported Sergeant Catal, voice tense over comms. No sign of organized resistance. Civilians seem absent. Virex frowned. Move cautiously. They may be setting traps. The Dominion troops advanced into the heart of the city, New Haven, once a bustling metropolis now reduced to a labyrinth of rubble and ruin. Every corner was a potential ambush. Every shadow, a hiding place for death. Suddenly the silence shattered. Explosions ripped through the streets as concealed mines detonated beneath armored feet. From the ruins, sniper fire cracked. Human marksmen with pulse rifles using advanced cloaking gear, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. The Dominion soldiers scrambled, raising energy shields to block bursts of gunfire and grenades. They returned fire, plasma bolts scorching walls and collapsing weakened structures. The city became a battlefield of shattered concrete and fire. Ambush! Sergeant Catal shouted. Contact left flank! From the broken windows and crumbling. Rooftops, human fighters emerged, thin, ragged, but fierce. Their weapons were crude compared to Dominion technology, but their tactics were brutal and unpredictable. They fought with desperation, blending guerrilla warfare with ruthless precision. Virex watched as a squad of his soldiers was cut down by a swarm of humans, wielding jury-rigged explosives and makeshift flamethrowers. The human resistance moved, like shadows striking quickly then vanishing into the maze of ruins. They're not a civilization, Virex muttered. They're a living weapon. In the distance, a guttural war chant echoed, a haunting sound that stirred something primal in the Dominion troops. The humans were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to reclaim their world with savage fury. As Dominion soldiers advanced through a shattered plaza, the ground suddenly trembled beneath their feet. From beneath the rubble, concealed artillery emerged, crude but devastating human-built siege weapons, firing volleys of high-explosive shells. A Dominion squad was caught in the blast, torn apart in a fiery explosion. Virex's comm crackled, with frantic calls for medical aid and reinforcements. Hold position, Virex ordered. Don't let them break our lines. But the humans kept coming. From every ruined building, narrow alleyway, and collapsed subway entrance, fighters surged forward. They were desperate, relentless, and unpredictable. Virex realized the humans had turned the city into a trap, a killing ground designed to strip away the Dominion's technological superiority. Their knowledge of the terrain, combined with guerrilla tactics, was grinding the invaders down. As night fell, Dominion soldiers dug in behind makeshift barricades, twisted rebar, and scorched vehicles. The city's ruins glowed faintly with fires, shadows flickering in the smoke. Virex paced among his troops, face grim. The battle for Earth was no longer about conquest. It was a fight for survival, against a species that refused to yield. Across the battlefield, a young human fighter named Arya moved silently through the smoke-filled streets. Her pulse rifle was scarred and worn, her cloak patched from scavenged materials. She paused by a shattered storefront and whispered into her comm. Enemy forces entrenched near Sector 7. Multiple casualties reported. We need reinforcements. The resistance was battered, but it was still standing. The humans fought with something no Dominion genetic enhancement could replicate: raw, unyielding will. Virex looked out over the battlefield and knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The sky above Earth burned red as Dominion reinforcements tore through the void, led by High Strategist Nexari aboard the dreadnought Oblivion. Massive and intimidating, The ship's hull was a dark monolith against the backdrop of stars, symbol of the Dominion's unyielding might. Nexari's cold eyes scanned the report streaming into her command console. The battle for Earth was not the swift conquest she had anticipated. Instead, the humans fought with a savage tenacity that shredded Dominion pride and fleets alike. "Deploy shock troops," Nexari ordered, her voice a razor blade. "We end this now." Armored in the latest exosuits, elite Dominion soldiers poured from the Oblivion's landing bays, engineered for strength, speed, and lethal precision. They moved like specters through the war-torn cities, their arrival tipping the balance on the ground. Commander Virex watched the new arrivals with a mix of relief and impatience. "Nexari's forces will crush the resistance," he declared. "Prepare to launch full assault." But humanity's response was swift and brutal. Captain Alara Chen, coordinating with underground resistance leaders, had anticipated this moment. She stood on the bridge of the Aegis watching the Oblivion's approach with steely resolve. "Prepare boarding parties," Alara commanded. "We hit them where it hurts." A squadron of stealth fighters, heavily modified cargo ships turned. War machines darted from Earth's orbit under Alara's command. Cloaked and silent, they slipped through Dominion patrols, hurtling toward the massive dreadnought. Inside the Oblivion, alarms screamed as small craft breached the outer hull. Dominion soldiers scrambled to intercept, but the boarding teams were fast and ruthless. Explosions rocked the ship's corridors as human fighters detonated charges, severed power conduits, and sabotaged critical systems. The Oblivion shuddered under the assault, its dreadnought status undermined by chaos within. "Contain the breaches," Nexari shouted, but the damage was spreading too quickly. Captain Alara led the final push toward the ship's reactor core.
"Charge set," she whispered, fingers trembling over the detonator. A blinding explosion tore through the heart of the Oblivion, sending shockwaves through its structure. The dreadnought shuddered violently, power flickering out across the
ship. Systems failed one by one, lights dimming to darkness. Virex felt the Eclipser shake through their shared network. The Oblivion's destruction was a blow not just to morale, but to the Dominion's strategic dominance in the battle. "Fall back," Nexari ordered through shattered comms. "Regroup and defend." But the tide had turned. On the ground, Marcus Hale and his guerrilla fighters exploited the confusion. With elite Dominion shock troops stalled or retreating, the resistance surged forward, reclaiming lost ground block by block. "We push them back," Marcus roared, rallying his battered squad. "This is our home. We will not fall." As Dominion, forces scrambled to regroup. Human artillery, makeshift but deadly, pounded enemy positions with renewed ferocity. Mortars lobbed explosives into entrenched bunkers. Sniper teams picked off officers attempting to organize counterattacks. In orbit, Alara's fighters danced around faltering Dominion ships, launching relentless strikes that prevented the enemy from re-establishing control. Virex's voice was a growl of frustration. "How do they keep fighting? How do they keep winning?" Hatar's reply was grim. "They're not just fighting for survival, they're fighting for everything." Nexari, her command shattered but spirit unbroken, sent a grim message back to the Dominion High Council. "Humanity is no longer a target for easy conquest," she warned. "They are a storm we must prepare to weather, or be swept away by." Virex stared out the viewport at Earth's battered surface, where fires burned and shadows moved like ghosts. "The humans have won this battle," he admitted quietly. "But the war is far from over." The twilight sky over the ruins of New Haven was a canvas of smoke and ash, the distant thunder of artillery reverberating through the skeletal remains of skyscrapers. Beneath this shattered city, in a network of tunnels carved from the forgotten subway lines, a small group of human operatives prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. Arya, her pulse rifle slung across her back, checked her gear with steady hands. Her eyes, fierce and unyielding, reflected the dim glow of tactical displays. Around her, members of the resistance whispered last-minute strategies, their faces etched with exhaustion but burning with determination. "We can't let the Dominion regain control of the city," Arya said, her voice low but resolute. "Their supply lines run through the underground communication hub. If we take it out, We cripple their command. Marcus Hale, scarred and weathered but unbroken, nodded. It's a suicide run, but if anyone can do it, it's this team. The mission was simple in theory. Penetrate the Dominion's makeshift command center buried beneath the city, plant explosives and exfiltrate before the enemy could react. But in reality, it was a death sentence. Outside, Dominion patrols prowled the streets, their heavy footsteps echoing like the approach of a storm. Their armor gleamed with an alien sheen, their weapons capable of melting through human cover with terrifying ease. Yet the humans moved like shadows, slipping through cracks in the enemy's perimeter. Stay sharp, Arya whispered as the team advanced through tunnels lined with broken pipes and flickering lights. The air was thick with dust, and the scent of rusted metal. Every footstep was muffled, every breath measured. They reached the communication hub, a cavernous chamber filled with Dominion tech, humming with alien energy. Guards were stationed at every entrance, their sensors scanning for intruders. Arya signaled and the team split into coordinated pairs. The first pair neutralized sentries silently, their blades striking swift and true. The second pair hacked into the command consoles, downloading critical data on Dominion troop movements and supply caches. But the Dominion were not blind. An alarm blared, shattering the fragile silence. Red lights bathed the room as automated turrets activated, spewing streams of plasma bolts. The resistance fighters dove for cover, returning fire with desperate intensity. Arya's heart pounded as she laid the charges, explosives rigged to obliterate the communication arrays. Minutes felt like hours as she worked under fire, her fingers steady despite the chaos. Outside, Marcus led the team's extraction, holding the line against Dominion reinforcements pouring into the tunnels. His voice rang out, steady and commanding. Fall back to the rendezvous. We move fast or we die here. The explosives detonated in a deafening roar, the communication hub collapsing in a cascade of sparks and molten metal. Dominion command was blinded, their forces plunged into disarray. Back on the surface, the city's skyline flickered as Dominion ships struggled to maintain coordination. Human fighters exploited the confusion, launching coordinated strikes that pushed the enemy back block by block. Commander Virex, seething with frustration aboard the crippled Eclipser, clenched his fists. This insurgency is beyond what we predicted. They fight not with technology but with heart. Sir, Hatar said quietly, it's their greatest weapon. As the battle raged on, Earth's defenders found strength in every shattered street, every ruined building, every scar left by war. The Dominion's might was vast, but it was matched and often outmatched by human resilience and ingenuity. In a battered command center deep beneath the city, Captain Ilara Chen studied the report streaming in. They think they can break us with firepower, she said softly. But they've forgotten. Humans fight with something no machine can copy. Outside, the war for Earth continued. A war of shadows and light, of ghosts and guns. And in the heart of that struggle, humanity refused to yield. The battered city of New Haven was no longer just a battlefield. It had become a crucible, forging the fate of humanity and the Dominion alike. The air was thick with smoke and ash, mingled with the acrid scent of burning circuits and scorched earth. Fires flickered in the distance, casting long shadows over the ruins as dawn's pale light struggled to penetrate the haze. Commander Virex sat alone in the Eclipser's war room, surrounded by flickering holoscreens and battle maps. Each display showed human resistance pockets swelling with renewed vigor, disrupting Dominion supply lines and recapturing critical positions. His usual calm composure was fraying beneath the weight of relentless defeats. A low chime interrupted his thoughts. Lieutenant Hatar's face appeared on the screen, tension etched across his features. Commander, we've intercepted a human transmission. They're coordinating a large-scale offensive. Virex leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Details. Their forces are converging on our central command bunker beneath the city. If they succeed, it will sever our control over ground operations. A grim smile crossed Virex's lips. Then we make sure they don't. Meanwhile, Deep within the labyrinthine tunnels under New Haven, Marcus Hale stood before a ragtag assembly of fighters. His voice rang out, steady and determined. "This is our moment," Marcus declared. "For months, we've bled and bled. Now we strike the heart of their command. Cut the head, and the body will fall." The resistance fighters, scarred, weary, but resolute, murmured their assent. Among them was Arya, her eyes sharp as she checked her gear. Beside her, Captain Alara Chen coordinated satellite feed data, pinpointing enemy patrols and weak points in the Dominion's defenses. As the assault began, the city erupted into chaos. Explosions rocked the ruins as human artillery barraged Dominion positions. Fighters surged forward through the broken streets, coordinated strikes dismantling enemy outposts. Beneath the surface, Marcus's team navigated the deadly tunnels with practiced precision, neutralizing sentries and disabling security systems. Their progress was relentless but costly. Every corridor seemed lined with traps, every step a gamble. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Dominion's elite shock troops poured into the tunnels, intent on crushing the assault. "Hold the line!" Marcus shouted, firing into the oncoming tide. The narrow passageways became a brutal choke point, the air thick with smoke, sweat, and the acrid stench of plasma burns. Up above, Alara piloted the Aegis through swarms of Dominion fighters in low orbit, providing air support. Her squadron's lasers carved swaths through enemy ships, disrupting reinforcements. Back on the ground, the tide began to turn. Virex watched the battle unfold on his displays with mounting fury. The humans were relentless, fighting with a ferocity that defied logic. His forces were being ground down piece by piece. "Deploy the Cerberus AI," Virex ordered. "Override their communication systems. Turn their own tech against them." On the resistance side, the AI Cerberus had long been an invaluable asset, coordinating human defenses with lightning speed. Now, the Dominion sought to corrupt it, but Alara's team fought back, deploying countermeasures to protect the network. In the tunnels, Marcus and Arya pressed forward, reaching the Dominion command bunker's entrance. With a coordinated strike, they breached the heavily fortified door. Inside, a fierce firefight erupted. Dominion officers and guards fought to the death, but human determination prevailed. Marcus planted explosives around the bunker's core, his hands steady despite the chaos. "Clear out," he shouted as the charges counted down. The blast rocked the underground facility, sending debris tumbling and severing Dominion control lines. Outside, Dominion troops faltered without orders. Confusion spread like wildfire. Virex slammed his fist on the console. "No, we cannot lose command." But the damage was done. The humans had broken the Dominion's hold on the city. As dawn fully broke, the battered but unbowed resistance emerged from the tunnels. Cheers echoed through the ruins, a defiant roar that carried across the smoke-choked streets. Virex's voice was low, bitter. "This isn't over. We will regroup. We will return." But as he looked down on Earth, battered and burning, he knew one truth above all: the humans were no longer the prey. They had become the hunters. The smoldering ruins of New Haven lay quiet under a weary dawn. Fires still burned here and there, but the deafening roar of battle had finally subsided. Earth's defenders, exhausted, battered, but unbroken, stood victorious amid the wreckage. "Commander." Virex sat alone in the darkened chamber of the Eclipser, his expression grim as the ship's systems hummed faintly after their hasty retreat. The Dominion fleet had been shattered, their invasion of Earth halted in its tracks. The loss was a bitter pill to swallow, but the defeat carried a deeper sting, a profound realization. Humans were not mere prey. They were formidable, resilient, and dangerous beyond measure. Virex clenched his fists. We underestimated them. Across Earth, celebrations were tempered by loss. Captain Alara Chen addressed the surviving resistance fighters from the steps of the shattered city hall, her voice strong despite the weariness etched on her face. This victory was won with sacrifice. Many will not see tomorrow. But today, we proved something the Dominion could never understand, that the human spirit cannot be broken. Among the crowd, Arya stood silently, scars on her face and soul, eyes scanning the horizon for what might come next. Will they return? A young fighter whispered. Alara's gaze hardened. They will. The Dominion never gives up easily. But neither will we. Back aboard the Eclipser, Virex's comm crackled. High Strategist Nixari's voice cut through the static, harsh, determined. We retreat for now, she said. But this war is far from over. We must learn from this defeat, we must adapt. Virex nodded silently, knowing the truth in her words. Earth was a fortress of human will, but the Dominion's empire spanned countless worlds. The war would rage on. Yet for the first time, humanity had tasted victory against the overwhelming might of the stars. Below the battered skies, Marcus Hale rallied the resistance, forging a new chapter of defiance. We fight because we must, he declared, voice resolute, because our home is worth every scar, every loss. Arya tightened her grip on her rifle, eyes shining with fierce hope. The Empire had come seeking conquest. Instead, it had found something far greater, a species unwilling to bow, a beacon of indomitable hope, and Earth was ready to defend it.